Hey everyone, this is Theresa Hegel, Executive Editor of Special Projects and Sustainability at ASI.
And this is Cassie Green, Content Director of Apparelist and Editor at Printing United Alliance. And you're listening to Branding Together, a new adventure into the converging worlds of print and promo.
We're here to bring you an engaging monthly discussion that dissects just how closely each of these industries align. Whether you're a promotional products distributor, commercial printer, apparel decorator, or a little bit of everything, our topics and guests will bring the ultimate crossover conversation.
When you're ready to bring your business to the next level, get lost in this month's episode, which is set to happen in 3, 2, 1.
Hi everyone, it's the month of April, and of course we're celebrating my birthday, which is soon, but it's also Earth Month. Cassie and I both are very into sustainability. Obviously, I write the promo for the Planet, or write and edit the promo for the Planet site. And I know sustainability is something you just kind of like live every day, right? So we really wanted to kind of devote this whole episode to sustainability. We have some great guests coming up, but first let's kind of talk about some sustainability news that we both have. So Cassie, what do you got for us?
You know, in terms of news, it's more of just with the current U.S. administration, right? We are seeing some rollbacks of some sustainability initiatives and things like that. Right now, the biggest things we're seeing in the printing side of the industry is this continued fight against bans on carbon black, which is a popular, ingredient in printing inks. And, we continue to see states lobbying against that, trying to ban it, things like that. But what the problem is there's a lot of misconception out there. Carbon black in and of itself, especially as part of the printing inks, is not harmful. And so we are still seeing a lot of misconceptions when it comes to that in the industry. And then, of course, even though there are a lot of rollbacks, we're still fighting the battle, right? And so we are still pushing really hard with sustainability in the printing industry. And sort of along those lines, I just wanted to do like a quick plug on Printing United Alliance's new program that we're piloting. We're basically exploring the launch of a web-based tool to help our members track, benchmark, and report their sustainability, carbon, and climate impacts. And so we are currently actively working with a lot of shops across the printing industry. It's apparel people, it's commercial printers, it's wide format printers, it's packaging printers, to see how
We actually have some promo people in there too.
we do, which is great because again, the convergence, right? And so, we're really just trying to ensure that our members have the resources they need. And so this program is really being piloted by Gary Jones and Sarah Osorio of the Alliance to provide value, help pilot the program. So that's kind of the big news on our front. What about, okay, so yeah, obviously some promo people, but what about you guys? What's the big news?
Yeah, so I mean, this month, Promo for the Planet turns, I guess, 3. And one of the things I wanted to do was sort of give it a refresh, a little makeover. So that is going to release on Earth Day. Essentially, it still has a lot of the same information, but I updated some of the certifications and glossary. We're making like the videos more prominent. We're putting in some like cool like animated stats. Just wanted to give it kind of a fresh look and a bigger highlight because it is still such an important topic. And, I want people to go there and then keep coming back because I do update it pretty regularly. So people can actually, you can find it on the ASI Central website, but you can also go to www.promofortheplanet.com and it'll take you right to the site. So, I'm kind of hard at work with our web designer putting like the finishing touches on the new look for Promo for the Planet. But that's we're hoping to have that launch on Earth Day. And it's still there. Like the current iteration is there and is still updated, but we're just going to give it like a fresh new look, some new information, just change things around a little bit. So it's exciting.
Yes, that's really exciting. I've always been a huge supporter of what you do with Promo for the Planet. I think it's great that you're giving it a refresh. Why not? What an appropriate day to launch, of course, Earth Day.
I mean, we did sort of plan it that way. We could have done it any time, but it's like, why not time it to Earth Day?
I really love that. And it's so funny. I was kind of in talks with like our social media team, and we've been rolling out. And Theresa, I enlisted your help with this too. We've been rolling out some sustainability tips throughout this month already, because I think too people don't realize. Okay, yes, it's not easy to be sustainable, but it kind of is, right? And so resources like Promo for the Planet or this program we're trying to pilot um, actually point out that there are tons of resources out there that can help all of the print and promo people be more sustainable and kind of quash that misconception that it's too expensive or too hard.
Yeah, yeah. And I mean, I think one of the things that helps me and I think helps a lot of other people is to consider it a journey
Mhm.
with, multiple steps along the way. So it's like, no, you're not going to be like the perfect sustainable person right away, but that doesn't mean you can't like start doing one thing and then another thing and just before you know it, all those little small steps have added up to be something substantive and good and impressive.
Right. And it's so true. And there are so many, like, I was having a conversation with somebody. There are so many resources out there that are available to help that you don't feel like you have to go on this journey alone. Like, again, and, utilize Promo for the Planet. And where can you find helpful things like that? Like, we use in my home a recycling program called Bridwell that takes like your hard to recycle plastic or plastics, things like that, textiles, even. And so, again, I love that you call it a journey because it truly is. And slowly over time, as you make small steps, you start to have a big impact.
Yeah, yeah. So I think I wanted to kind of segue into some of our own personal sustainability practices, which you kind of started. Could you repeat the name of the recycling company?
Yeah, I use Ridwell,
Ridwell.
Ridwell. Yeah, and it's not available everywhere, right? So that's kind of the downfall. And really, that's just because they can't, they're not scaled to that size to
Mhm.
be everywhere yet. But the cool part is you can go into their like platform and you can type in your zip code and they will tell you if they're available. Now, if they're not, you can order a box that they'll send you a box and you can like ship your recyclables, but that kind of defeats the purpose, right? Because now we're starting to,
Yeah, yeah.
increase shipping and things like that. But so, if it is available in your area, it's a modest fee. I think we pay like $18 a month, but they take plastic film, multi-layer plastic, textiles, batteries, and light bulbs every month, and then they swap in like featured categories. So like last month it was books, some months it's cork, it'll be bread tags some months, or jewelry other months. And they sometimes they do recycle primarily, all the plastic stuff.
Mhm.
A lot of times with like the jewelry and whatnot, they repurpose it into other things. So they work with companies where it gets repurposed into other jewelry or melted down for other things. Or like they take snowboards and old snowboards and skis and they make jewelry and like purses out of it and things like that. So it's about reusing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I mean, one of the kind of tenets of like the circular economy is to kind of keep things in circulation for as long as possible
Yeah.
in like their best form, basically. So as far as like for my personal sustainability practices, uh, in some ways I'm still, even though I write about this a lot, I still am kind of not as far along on the journey personally. But one thing that I really love is um, on Facebook we have like a local like buy nothing group. So instead of like throwing things away, I'll post it on there, and I've been able to give away my daughter's bicycle or her like play kitchen or all kinds of things that you're like, well, I don't know if anyone would want this, but throw it up there and maybe they will. And I've found things on there, so I love that kind of freely giving things away instead of like putting it on the curb. And then I also am like a big proponent of shopping local whenever possible.
Yeah.
So I love, going to the local indie bookstore or any kind of like small business because I know keeping those dollars local kind of benefits the whole economy in your town. So those are like my two big things right now.
Those are huge. I don't think that people necessarily realize how big those two, like those things that you do, like that's a big impact because again, it's about like the circular economy, but it's about why do we have to buy new? So like your daughter's bike, for example, probably was still in great condition. Why wouldn't another child use that? I mean, what like and again, then you're helping keep something out of a landfill that doesn't necessarily need to go to a landfill. And then by shopping local, you're also cutting down on the amount of like shipping things and whatnot and packaging, and all that good stuff. So there are ways to keep the money flowing while still being sustainable, right? I think that's a perfect example. So, um, yeah, we started a compost bin last year. I shouldn't say we. My family, primarily me, started a compost bin last year. And there's a little bit of a learning curve, but again, people don't realize it's actually pretty easy to compost, like your basic household food
Yeah, yeah.
waste.
And there's a lot of resources out there that can help you. I think a lot of like universities that have agricultural programs will often give you free resources to help you get started. So
Mhm.
it's not as hard as you think it's going to be.
Right. So I think it's so funny because yes, Teresa and I have our own personal journeys with this and just shining examples of like how you can realistically implement sustainable practices at your home, but like business too, right? Like just because we're doing these things at our home doesn't mean you can't apply these to your business practices as well. Like it'd be super not easy, but easy to start a recycling program at your business. Just let your
Yeah.
employees know, hey, like this bin is for these plastics, this bin's for cardboard, like break it down, like give them very easy instructions on how to do it. And voila, now you're already
Yeah.
making a difference at your business.
Right, right. And I mean, like, I think it's worth checking in with your employees because a lot of times, if you have like younger employees, they may already be passionate about this. So,
Right.
kind of give them a platform to implement changes, start like a green team or something to kind of get the ball rolling.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Um,
Love it.
yeah, so why don't we, with all that said, I mean, we've shared our personal stories, but I'd love to get to our guests now. So I'm going to introduce our first guest is Ben Grossman. He is the co-president of Grossman Marketing Group and also the creator of Swag Cycle. In addition, he's a member of Counselor's Power 50 list of the most influential people in promo. And he's actually part of my Promo for the Planet editorial advisory board. He is very he's been writing about sustainability, I don't know, since 2008 or something like that. So he's really, in this space, knows what he's talking about, and it's all about like finding a way to take obsolete merch that, if somebody's rebranded or whatnot, and finding a place for it, either through donation or recycling.
I love that. And to wow, first of all, really excited to have Ben. To complement him, we also have Mel Lay joining us. She is the marketing director and one of the co-founders of All Made Apparel, a sustainable blank t-shirt supplier. So if you go way back into Mel's history, she was actually featured on an episode of Shark Tank several years ago for something a little bit different, but now her purpose is all about sustainability. Because of All Made's efforts, in 2024, 11,169,990 plastic bottles were repurposed into apparel. So, Allmade has made it its mission to not only create great t shirts, but do so sustainably by recycling water bottles. So, welcome to our guests.
Thank you so much for joining us, Ben and Mel. Okay, so now we have Ben and Mel, and I'm so excited that you guys are both here to talk with us today. Um, I want to start with Ben. Can you share your sustainability journey with us? What kind of first sparked your interest in the movement?
So it was probably a recognition that we all share one planet and there are finite resources. I first joined our family business Gross and Marketing Group in 2006 and realized that our industry, the print and promotional products industry, creates a lot of waste, and we wanted to find a way to leave less of a footprint in our supply chain, in the products that we recommended to our clients, and how we ran our business internally. And so we started exploring that. This is probably close to 20 years ago. I started blogging about sustainability. It was something that was really of interest to me. Started giving talks about it, and then after that, got involved in some charitable organizations, including an organization called Product Stewardship Institute, which is a national nonprofit that's focused on producer responsibility. And it gave me just some recognition about what producers can do to focus on landfill divergence of products. And then from there, we had the realization that when companies rebrand or get acquired in our industry, a lot of merch becomes obsolete, and potentially goes into landfills. And through Swag Cycle, we wanted to find ways that those items could be diverted from landfills, either through charitable donations or recycling and upcycling initiatives. And it's been a really fun journey ever since.
Great. So we are going to get back to Swag Cycle in a little bit, but let's turn it to Mel and tell us a little bit about how you got started with sustainability.
Yeah, so it kind of fell into my lap, honestly. I owned a screen print shop and an apparel brand, and obviously realizing very quickly how many chemicals and just how much waste there is just from decorating. And so along my journey, I got asked to join this group of screen printers that was going to make this new shirt for the industry that was going to be a better shirt to print on. That was initially our greatest, idea was we want to love this shirt. We want to decorate it perfectly. And then as we went to Haiti, where we were going to build this shirt and help the people of Haiti as we built it, we realized, wow, we could really, make something completely new for the industry and make it completely sustainable, not only in how we make it, but what it's made of. And so that's kind of where my journey started, was exploring, what different fibers can be used. Can you use modal instead of rayon? So our All Made Apparel's first t-shirt was made of it was kind of the first. Now other people are doing it too, which is great. We love that. Our initial initiative was, hey, let's make a better shirt and let's push the industry to also make a better apparel as well. But we started with recycled polyester, organic cotton, and modal instead of rayon. And so just exploring new fibers and how to be just kind of a leader in the industry of having better apparel that not only prints great but feels great, and you're helping out people in those countries by using renewable energy and all those things. So it's definitely been a learning process, because All Made's only about 9 years old. And so, yeah, we were like all, as fast as we could go the minute it started. So it's exciting.
Yeah, that is really exciting. Something Theresa and I have talked about is sustainability is a journey, and All Made really has been on that journey, like you were just talking about. Can we go a little bit deeper into that and really talk about the environmental impact that All Made has already had, and what kind of goals does the company have moving forward?
Yeah, so when we first started, our tagline was "Make It Better." We kind of rebuilt that later on. Our new tagline is "Feel Your Impact," but only because Timberland was already using our "Make It Better." We realized early on, just 10 dumb screen printers who don't know what we're doing. But "Make It Better" had a purpose, because we knew as we started this journey, you can never make something perfect, right? We're still putting out a product that's going to stay, on this earth for a very long time. And so our goal really was to just continually find ways to make a better product. So, for instance, recycled polyester is still plastic. It's not, it's not going to break down in a landfill for a lot of years. But most apparel has polyester in it. It's a staple in this industry. As of now, you really can't get away from it. And so let's make it better. Let's do recycled poly. And even now, I mean, that was 9 years ago. Now we're okay. How do we make recycled poly better? Or do we step away from recycled poly? So I think our journey has just been this one of, what new fibers can we use? What can we explore? We've partnered with different companies to help us even explore that further. There are some things coming out where maybe we can break down recycled polyester the same way organic cotton breaks down in a landfill. So yeah, there's all these fun new things to learn. It's constantly educating yourself, waking up in the morning and reading something new, and I think that's part of the fun journey of it all.
Awesome. So Ben, let's get back to you in Swag Cycle. I know I've talked to you about Swag Cycle many, many times, and I think you guys have had kind of like a big milestone recently. So let's talk a little bit about like, what it's all about and some of the impact that you've had so far.
Thank you. So we started Swag Cycle about 5.5 years ago in late 2019 in recognition of the fact that when companies rebrand or get acquired or change marketing messaging, a lot of merch can become obsolete overnight. We have been on the receiving end of requests from companies prior to the creation of Swag Cycle to discard items after a rebrand. And that never sat well with us, and we thought there could be a better way. We looked out into the marketplace and there wasn't. And so we decided we would build a platform to help companies divest of merch either through charity or through recycling and upcycling initiatives. We started really small. I mean, I personally called some charities and personally reached out to some recycling partners, got the word out there, spread the word, and it we saw some demand from companies, and it's really exploded. We now have several hundred charitable partners on the platform. We can recycle and upcycle in many different countries. And to date, we just broke the $10 million charitable mark. So we've facilitated more than $10 million of charitable donations on the platform. And we've kept more than 3 million items out of landfills, either through recycling or charitable initiatives. I mean, some of the companies that we've assisted include Amazon and around recycling, and Meta, Facebook around their rebrand, probably the most well-known rebrand in the last decade or so. Worked with other really big companies and small companies too. And then we've also engaged with a lot of distributors and supplier partners in the industry to help become a type of sustainability platform enabling this process for the industry as a whole, which we've really enjoyed.
Yeah, that's a big, big deal, I think, and a big win because sometimes I feel we get a little caught up in the negativity of it all. But what you guys are doing is really pushing forward a very positive thing in the industry. And so, Ben, I'm wondering, in addition to obviously what you and Swag Cycle are doing, what are some other big wins that you're really seeing on the promo side of things, when it comes to sustainability?
Yeah, I mean, the industry as a whole, we've definitely made progress. I'd say that one of the biggest wins is just awareness, where sustainability 15, 20 years ago was more of a niche conversation, and it's really hit the mainstream. And so we see clients actively asking about product certifications, potentially product recyclability, definitely ethical sourcing, and then carbon footprints of items. And then a big thing though around that is traceability. So a factory could say that it's recycled. According to whom is it recycled? According to whom are some of these statistics coming from? And that's really important. And so what we're really pushing when we're working with clients is to be aware of these different options out there. We try to partner with really ethical factory partners who do things the right way, and so that we always help our clients reflect their brands well in the marketplace. We continue to see a lot more innovation, just in terms of better quality recycled items, better quality items made of organic cottons or other type of environmentally friendly certified items. But again, what we see is that in the past, companies really viewed going green as almost a sacrifice, that they were sacrificing quality. And now we don't see that anymore. We see that a big win is that the products are actually really good quality, either as good or better as other items, like Allmade. I mean, they make great products. So we feel really proud to present responsible products to our clients because we know that they'll wear well in the industry, in the marketplace. They'll be used well. They'll last a while, and that's really important to us.
Yeah, absolutely. Mel, any thoughts or additions from the printing side that you want to add to that? I mean, those are some great, great things that we're seeing in terms of progress.
I know Ben is crushing it right now. No,
Thank
I
you.
fully agree. I think for, the same, like I said earlier, we really, when we started, we wanted, everybody to be doing this too, which is kind of counterproductive when you want to be like the one niche product. But it's amazing. So, from the apparel side, there's just so many great eco products coming out. I think for us, what we've been learning in the last year or so is how do we, kind of regulate some of these buzzwords in the industry, and to Ben's point, just make sure that, everyone is, if you say you're recyclable, how much of that product is actually recycled? And to Ben's point, where is it coming from? So not only transparency, but authenticity. and giving customers and brands the right to ask those questions and giving them answers to that. And so we just always tell friends that are like, I'm looking for this product in the promo industry, just ask a lot of questions. If they don't know where that's coming from, or that cup says, 100% recycled, ask really, how much of it is and what it's made out of, and do your own research, which is amazing that we have such capability to do that. But it's been exciting to watch brands, huge brands, come out with entirely, sustainable lines within them, and just really start to innovate. It's pushed us actually to push the envelope further and, find new ways, because I think, really easy to make product out of recycled polyester. It's growing so much so that, you know, supposedly the running out of plastic to recycle to use in this way for apparel. I don't know how much of that is true, but that doesn't seem possible. But it is this very large portion of apparel right now, which is awesome. But what else can we do, right? Like let's improve organic cotton farming. Let's talk about transitional cotton more. So there's just some really awesome things that the industry is moving towards. And again, to Ben's point, I think quality, it's crazy. It has turned, I feel like green products are more premium. And I think sometimes that it turned that way because of pricing, right? A lot of green products tend to be a little bit more expensive, but what we've noticed in the last year is what we've been working really hard on, is keeping our sustainable products the same. So as equal as we can with the conventional tri-blend t-shirt, for instance. If we can keep it similar pricing, then no one has to choose. You don't have to pay more for a great product that's good for the planet. It's really hard to do, but yeah, I hope that's where the future is going, is that, yeah, you don't have to pay more to go green.
Yeah, yeah. No, I think that's great. I kind of wanted to turn it around. We're talking about some of the progress and the great things that are happening, but let's kind of focus on some of the challenges. And I think we already started kind of alluding to that with like how much greenwashing there is in the industry. I think that's something that, because sustainability has become, you know, more popular or more prominent, I think that's also led to a lot of greenwashing. But I'm sure there's other challenges as well. So Mel, can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges that we face right now?
Yeah, I mean, for us, really, challenges are more in our to stay away from greenwashing. It's more in our supply chain, honestly. We really struggle with, when we started, we used only Texas organic cotton. We weren't 100% USA made, and we've never said we were, because we like helping out, other factories in other countries that need, more products coming out of them so that they can grow. And when they're ethical and using renewable energy, they deserve that help. But so we were using Texas organic cotton, and then there was a huge drought, and Texas organic cotton took a huge, huge hit, which made organic cotton extremely more expensive, which makes prices go up. And this is a continual thing that's happened, during 2020, 2021. It was hard to find sustainable fibers to make product, and then that drives up price. And so, that is a huge, huge challenge for the sustainable sector for sure, is just limited resources. But I think if we can encourage, just going back to cotton farming, if we can encourage, conventional cotton farmers to switch to transitional, which takes about 5 years. Most people don't know, you can't just become a organic cotton farmer because your soil's full of chemicals. And so there's like a 4 to 5 year spot where you're transitional cotton, which is great to use. Like, people should be using it more and telling that story, because the more that's purchased, the more organic cotton farmers there can be. So I think it's a lot of education, and we need to make that education exciting, because I think, yeah, people get a little tired of hearing about it and they're like, oh, this doesn't apply to me. But I don't know as much about other, obviously, promotional products, but I'm sure the same things are kind of happening in that realm as well. But yeah, as far as greenwashing, I I seriously want to come up with a whole new glossary of sustainable words. Like, we should just pop them out that people use, because I think people get tired of hearing sustainable. They get tired of hearing eco-friendly. In fact, there's all this new legislation coming about using carbon neutral, how it's not really great to use that as well, because how do we define that? And so which is also a lot of education. And so it's just kind of an interesting place, but I think all of that has to do with the growth of the sustainability sector which is amazing, right? So it's like, how do we navigate that? And yeah, so lots of challenges. I'm sure we'll figure out a way to overcome them. But I think the whole point is, the more that people purchase, then yeah, the bigger
It'll
that sector can grow.
Yeah, right. There'll be a market for it. So
Right.
Ben, on the promo side, what are some of the challenges you see kind of, maybe with your company, but just kind of on a broader level?
So, Teresa, as you mentioned greenwashing, and as Mel mentioned, it's around authenticity. So, what we do not advocate for is for companies just to buy green products if sustainability and social responsibility are not core parts of what they do. Customers are too smart. Employees are too smart. Stakeholders are too smart. They'll see through it as greenwashing. And so it's really important that when companies are buying green products, it's just one piece of a large sustainability journey that's very broad. Otherwise, people will see through it. So, like I said, that's around the authenticity factor. I talked a little bit before about traceability. You know, some suppliers are doing this well, but a lot are still relying on kind of vague claims around recycled or some sort of eco element. And that's not good enough. We need to see more traceability where a customer or the end user who receives an item can scan a QR code and actually see auditable third-party data. It's really important. Not only will that reflect well on the end user company who's buying it, but their distributor, the supplier partner. It's going to lead to stickier relationships. I think just also just the supply chain in general is just pretty complex, and our industry relies heavily on global production. So, that could be apparel in one country, printing in another, fulfillment somewhere else. And so ensuring that every step of that journey aligns with ethical and environmental standards is not easy. We do depend a lot on our supplier partners, but we really need to see more third party audits verifying the steps that they're taking, is just really, really important. I think just also another challenge is just inertia. Some people, they get a little intimidated about going down the green route because there are so many certifications out there. I mean, dozens and dozens. It's really difficult to figure out a place to start. But what we always encourage people to do is start, experiment, explore, read, do research, study great companies like Patagonia. What have they done to leverage sustainability to a competitive advantage? But when clients are willing to explore and push out a little bit outside their comfort zone, especially companies that really are socially responsible enterprises at their core, it generally ends up with a good result.
Yeah, and both of you have, in what you just talked about, mentioned, yes, there is this sort of burnout. There is a lot of confusion. There's gray areas, what terms mean what. Yes, I agree, Mel. We should put together a glossary of some sort. That would be fun. It'd be huge, but it'd be fun, right? So I had a little giggle about that, but I like the idea. But, you guys are right. These are real issues that can lead to people just not focusing it at all and just being like, hey, I don't even want to deal with it. It can lead to like the burnout and the not wanting to engage at all. So, Ben, given that a little bit of anxiety that is associated with the challenges, how do you stay motivated? How do you stay positive without downplaying these issues?
No, I mean it's a real issue. There's a lot of urgency in terms of our climate and the world, and not always enough progress. But I stay motivated because I see the impact. When we partner with a client to do make responsible choices and green their supply chain, or on the swag cycle and help an organization donate thousands of items to a local nonprofit or keep items out of landfills. That's tangible and energizing. And I think my dad uses an expression, don't make perfect the enemy of the good. And no one's going to solve everything overnight, but I mean each small win, each diverted item, each responsible product made, each smarter sourcing decision, it all adds up. And I think just also our community keeps me going, collaborating with others like Mel and and Theresa on the ASI work that we've done a lot over the years, people who care deeply about these issues, it gives me hope about where our industry's going and what we can do to make a difference.
Yeah. Mel, any advice you want to add to staying motivated?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's exciting. Like I said earlier, there's just so many new, innovations because the sector's growing. People are getting smart. Like you can make t-shirts out of corn and milk products now, and that's exciting to kind of figure out and play around with. But going back to what Ben said earlier, I think baby steps is like definitely the key. We always recommend, especially for decorators who are just trying to make small, like how do we become a greener company? Not only are there companies out there that you can hire to help you do that, that help you take those baby steps. They'll do an evaluation for you. It's not even very expensive. And then they'll kind of periodically check in with you. So it's almost like you have your own little team holding you accountable, which is awesome. But there's so many amazing little things that you can do, starting from just, separating your recycling, which sounds crazy to even talk about because that should be a no-brainer, but it is really not. And I've learned after speaking at different events and different shows, not every state has the same easy access to recycling and separating trash. I live in Oregon, one of the best to do that. And I grew up in Washington. So when I got here, I was like, whoa, you guys are like next level. But not everybody has that access. So I think, just giving people more resources to be able to, do those simple things like separating your trash in your business. But yeah, I mean, I think I love the transparency aspect of it because in so many levels, right? Not just with your supply chain, but just as a company as a whole, being transparent about the baby steps you're taking so that not only that it permeates throughout your company, but it permeates to your customers because they're smart, like Ben said. But transparency leads to accountability, and not accountability in a negative way. Like somebody can be like, "Hey, you said you're doing this and you're not." But there is some level of greatness to that when you know that you're being held accountable for the standards, your values, versus just kind of saying something, that greenwashing thing again. And it just adds this level of like, no, we're sticking to this. We said we're going to do this. We said we're going to have, this amount of least recycling for the year, this trash for the year or whatnot. And then having, yeah, somebody hold you to that accountability, I think is really great. That's something that we at Allmade really try to do is so going back to QR codes, we added one to our labels so that you can see where our factory is that specific shirt was made. But honestly, this year we kind of did an evaluation. We're like, it's not enough. We're not showing enough on that page. So now we're doing a deep dive. We're traveling all the way to India in a month to check out where our organic cotton is currently being made because we haven't visited that new factory yet, and we don't feel like that's fair. So to our customers, so we're like, we need to be there. We need to make better relationships. So I think it's also this: give yourself grace that you have all the time in the world to make it better again and build on what you started at. So yeah, I think grace is definitely needed for each other and ourselves.
Awesome. Well, this has been such a great discussion. We touched on so many different things, but as anybody who's watched our relatively new podcast knows, we always like to kind of end on a fun note. So with that in mind, our last question. So back when I was a kid, and this is probably dating me a little bit, but there was a Saturday morning cartoon called Captain Planet. So he was like an environmentalist superhero who was going to take pollution down to zero. I used to watch it all the time. It's kind of silly. But on that note, I'm going to ask each of you, if you could have one superpower, what would it be and why? And what would your superhero name be? So let's start with Ben.
That's tough. So I have three kids, and I think I want to be their Superman, right? But I'll do something around sustainability that to answer your question around that. I'd say that I'd probably want to have a power to instantly transform waste into something useful or beautiful. So, I could snap my fingers and turn obsolete swag into school supplies or clothing for people in need. So I think I'd probably be the upcycler. How about that?
I like that. How about you, Mel?
I love that answer. I also love that you kind of told us this ahead of time because I'm not good on the spot with this type of stuff. But I also know the entire theme song to Captain Planet. I can sing it. I will not. I'll spare you. It was great. And why don't they have that cartoon anymore? They should
Thank
keep it
you.
up.
They should reboot it. They reboot everything else. Let's reboot
It's more
that.
relevant now than it was back then,
Yeah.
but maybe more people should have listened to it. We wouldn't be in this problem we're at with our world. But um, all that to say, man, it's a tough one. I I think it would be great. Like, you know how you can like see through walls? It, is like a typical one. Like I want to, what is it called? There's a
X-ray
name.
vision.
X-ray vision. Yes. Yeah, I think that that would be super cool. It has nothing to do with sustainability though, but I just think it would be fun to also I thought about this one. If you could just clone yourself, I'd be called Captain Multi-Mel and I would just clone myself so I could do a million things at once. Really nothing to do with sustainability, but maybe I could, help a lot of people clean up really quickly if I could do that. But
That's great.
I
I
love
love that.
those. Those are all great. Um, well, you guys, thank you so much for joining us today. This was such a great discussion. I love your superhero powers and names, and hopefully everyone was kind of inspired for this Earth Month to kind of take their next step, their first step, some kind of step in sustainability, both personally and professionally in print and promo.
Thank you for
awesome.
having us.
Yeah, thank you so much. This is so fun.
All right, awesome. Well, what a great conversation from Mel and Ben. Lots of good information there. So, just so excited that we had them on our show. And of course, to round out our show, we always like to do something a little silly. This isn't silly this time, but it is kind of fun. We're going to talk about 3 different sustainability topics in sort of like a quiz Q&A, seeing how much we know kind of format. And so I gathered some fun, kind of odd, quirky sustainability related tips that I'm going to fire off, and we're going to see how much Theresa and I actually know on a deeper level about sustainability.
I'm ready. I got my
All
buzzer
right.
ready.
And I have to say, for the record, before we start really quick, when I put these together, I learned so much. I was like laughing about some of these things. Okay, so first one. Fact or fiction, electronic communication is better for the environment than paper communication.
Hmm. I'm going to say fiction. I'm going to say that paper is better because I think people forget how much energy is used for electronic stuff. Plus, there's all the I don't know, rare earth metals and whatnot to make it create it. I don't know. I could be wrong here, but that's my guess.
Yeah, no, your guess is completely on track. So yes, paper communication is not necessarily better than electronic. In fact, in a lot of cases, electronic is worse. So here's a little research, little factoid for everybody. According to research done by the European Commission in 2020, the information and communication technology industry accounts for 5 to 9% of electricity use. That is more than 2% global greenhouse gas emissions. So that's a pretty big number, right? Issues such as lack of recycling non-renewables, buildup of global e-waste stored in mega data centers or cloud services, and more contribute to the issue. So, yay, Theresa, you were correct.
Well, I mean, and the thing with paper too is I'm not saying we should be just like willy-nilly like, printing things out, but a lot of it like with like FSC certification or recycled paper, I mean, I think people are managing it a little bit more responsibly now for the most part. And once the book is made, the book is there. Whereas like your e-reader or whatever, like you said, there's waste. You have to get the newest model or the newest phone, and then what do you do with the old one? So that was my thinking. So
No, and you're 100% correct. And as I was doing my research about this little piece of information, yes, we are doing better with paper recycling, using better products, things like that. So spot on. Absolutely. All right,
question
ready for
2.
number 2? All right, I had to do this one, obviously being in the apparel industry. So, how much is the apparel industry's global emissions predicted to rise by 2030? And this is a percentage. So, what percentage is
Okay.
it predicted to rise by 2030?
Okay. 10%?
Oh man, according to multiple sources, it will likely increase by a whopping 50% if no action is taken to deal with waste. So
Okay.
that's
So my answer was if actions were taken.
right. Yes, obviously. Yeah, because we're positive here and we believe in the global textile industry that we can do better.
Yes.
But yeah, no, I mean, I think that again, that's if no action is taken. So that's like doom and gloom answers. But I really hope that kind of cements the seriousness of like fast fashion, textile waste. I read somewhere that the average number of times somebody wears a fast fashion article of clothing is 7. 7. And that's disappointing to me. So it's kind of like, okay, guys, like if we don't want it to increase by 50%, let's do better.
Right. It requires action on everyone's part,
It really
from the manufacturers to the consumer.
absolutely. So, all right. Little factoid number 3, or question, however you want to say it. Can you recycle light bulbs?
Well, I feel like you answered this in the beginning, so I think the answer is yes, but you might need a specialized recycling facility to do it.
Correct. That's absolutely true. And yes, I did talk about this in the beginning because I was really excited to lead into this conversation. So, the long answer, while most light bulbs are made of glass, so people might assume they can be recycled, you can't recycle them in your curbside bin as they likely contain hazardous materials like mercury. So, definitely check to see if companies like Ridwell will take them. There's specialized recycling programs that will take them. Sometimes even local hardware stores will offer programs. So do a little research because while you can't recycle them in your curbside bin, there are options. So yay.
Awesome. Well, I feel like I did pretty good on that quiz.
Thank you.
Um,
You did
I guess
great.
all these years about writing about sustainability have done something to my brain.
Absolutely, they have. Yeah, no, clearly you know your stuff. Was not able to stump you at all.
Well, I just want to, let's like wrap things up now. I think this was a really great discussion, all things considered. And next month we will be back for the month of May, and we'll have some exciting things for everybody.
Yeah, can't wait to share. Thanks to everybody for listening in to our fun sustainability warrior episode.